he has had no real professional opponents other than Tommy Fury that were legitimate world-class boxers.
Yeah.
The problem is he was like a famous kid, and then no one took him seriously.
Yeah.
You just will never be a good fighter. So I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. But as we saw,
me like sparring.
Yeah.
When I watched it, which, you know, look, I paid for it. They got me. I thought it was going to be a real fight.
You know, but me, I'm going to speak my mind. I'm just going to keep it 100, man. Jake Paul is fugazi. He's fake.
That's how you feel?
Truly feel. I'll bust him up and his trainer in the same night.
Joe Rogan sat frozen, eyes wide, mouth half open, the kind of stunned silence that only happens when something completely shatters the expected narrative, and that's exactly what unfolded when Anthony Joshua finally broke his silence and exposed what he claimed were behind-the-scenes attempts by Jake Paul's team to script elements of a potential fight, sending shockwaves through the entire combat sports world. Because this wasn't just trash talk or promotional hype anymore, this was a former.
You know, like you would assume that wealth would take away your drive for
But
competition.
it hasn't, yeah.
He's also nuts, right? Just
Yeah.
the fact that he's willing to fight the two-time heavyweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
A guy who's gigantic in his prime, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And
Unified heavyweight champion calmly, methodically pulling back the curtain on what many hardcore fans have suspected for years but never heard confirmed by someone of Joshua's stature, and as Rogan listened, you could almost feel the weight of the moment, because AJ wasn't speaking emotionally or angrily, he wasn't ranting, he was explaining, and that made it far more terrifying for Jake Paul's brand. As Joshua detailed how conversations allegedly drifted away from competition and toward
for Jake, or if I think that Joshua's more experienced or better, I believe I believe boxing's real. If boxing is an actual sport, if it is an actual sweet science, then of course a guy that's done it 11 times cannot compete with the Olympic champion. Of course. This is before you get size in there, before you get professional world titles in there. A guy that's done this 11 times cannot go into the Olympic Games and medal. If boxing, in fact, should be believed. I was with Portnoy. I liked it. I liked how he said that. So, you know, that's how I feel too. Because I'm also cheering for Jake Paul. But I get it. I know we're not going to win tonight. But that's a compliment to boxing. And it is very hard for people to digest that Anthony Joshua can't cut him off. He can't find him. He can't do anything with that reach. He can't go out there and rush him. He can't throw this kid in a corner and beat him up. That is disappointing to me. That is baffling to me. As an MMA guy, I will just share with you, that would not be a problem at all. At all. If a guy's running away from me, it would be absolutely no problem. And you can put the boundaries at the city line. You can put it at the state line. I will track him down. I will put him somewhere and I will beat the dog out of him. So in a ring, I get where that is really disappointing. I get it, but it doesn't change the fact that that's what happened. And then Joshua, by the way, has the right to turn to some other thing. Well, I'm saying he ought to cut him off, grab him, throw him in the corner, go beat him up. Well, I'm saying that Joshua has the right to go, nah, I could feel some stuff. I knew it was going to come my way, right? For Joshua to say, well, I had the experience, and yeah, he was moving, and yeah, I could have cut him off a little different. But I didn't mind the way this was going. I didn't mind that he was running. I knew he would slow down. I knew he would come to me eventually. Like, for that to be Joshua's mindset.
control, optics, narratives, round expectations, and business-friendly outcomes, language that immediately set off alarms in Rogan's mind, a man who has spent decades around real fighters who live and die by unscripted chaos, and when Rogan reacted on his podcast, replaying Joshua's words with disbelief, he repeatedly stopped the clip, shaking his head, saying this is exactly why real fighters hate the influencer boxing space, because the moment you start talking about scripts instead of
expect Jake Paul to be fighting like higher level competition, it's not because he has under 10 fights. It's because he talks a lot of shit.
Yeah, but that's also why we're talking about him.
And that's exactly true. But I think on both sides of the equation, we've got to like admit that a young fighter under 5 fights isn't fighting great competition. So if you're calling Jake Paul a legitimate boxer and then you're expecting him to do what legitimate boxers do, I'm not sure he's not doing that, and probably more.
That's what I'm saying about the knockout of Tyron Woodley, because it was just a regular boxer who's just coming up.
survival. You've already lost the soul of the sport, and Joshua's claims hit harder because of his credibility. This is not a bitter contender chasing relevance. this is an Olympic gold medalist, a global pay-per-view draw, a man who has been hurt, dropped, humbled, and rebuilt himself in the most unforgiving division in boxing, and when he says he walked away because the fight didn't feel real, people listen. And Rogan emphasized that point, saying AJ has absolutely nothing to gain by lying.
I can't knock your hustle when you built something outside of boxing and you say, hey, yo, I'm coming over here to the sport now and I'm gonna pick and choose who I fight. Y'all come follow me. If they follow him, man, I just understand what it is. I know what I'm looking at. You're not gonna fool me over here, save that stuff for them other people, because I'm not gonna believe that I'm the face of, no, you're not the face of boxing. I'm not giving you that because that's for a lifer.
But that's what he believes.
That's cool, I can't knock him for that. People believe a lot of things for a lot of different reasons. I'm just saying, you can do all the rah-rah stuff, that's your business. But I just know what I'm looking at, right? But on the monetary side and it being an event, the truth is that when he does fight, it does bring attention around the sport. People debate, they argue, people want to see the fight. Is it legit? Is it him and Mike Tyson? No, it's an event.
About this, if anything, he risks backlash, lawsuits, and political headaches, yet he still chose to speak, which suggests, in Rogan's words, that something seriously weird was going on, and the deeper Joshua went, the uglier it sounded, as he allegedly described how certain scenarios were floated, subtle at first, disguised as promotional planning, then gradually more direct, questions about pacing, about how a fight could look, about making sure everyone wins, which to a real fighter.
Thoughts on that? I thought Jake Paul was a brave guy. Then I found out he made $100 million. I was thinking, well, anybody would fight for $100 million, but bro, he fought. I literally ran into Logan Paul in New York City and I said to him, it was weird too because I was going into a studio to interview Kamaru Usman for one of my shows. And Logan Paul was at the coffee shop. He's like, DC. I was like, what's up, Logan? Because he does a tremendous job in WWE. Yeah, Logan Paul does.
I don't watch WWE, but I know that.
Dude, you're huge. He might literally be the best professional wrestler in the world.
Really?
He's such an athlete, bro.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. But I'm just stroking him right now. I swear to God, bro, it's unbelievable how good the kid is.
Okay.
From the moment he started doing it, he was really good.
He can cut a promo, huh?
He got a what kids say. Promo. He's got a promo, but he's also good in the ring.
Okay.
He's really athletic. I said to him, I go, what type of safeguards do you have in place to make sure he doesn't get his head knocked off against Anthony Joshua? He's gonna fight Gervonta Davis, who weighed in at 137 2 fights ago. So now you're gonna go fight Anthony Joshua, who weighs all of 250? He said, all right. He said he's gonna just fight him. I go, man, he's very bold. And then what happened was he ran a lot.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Everybody goes, even Eddie Hearn goes, he did better than Francis. And I'm like, well, Francis didn't move around much. Francis thought he could actually fight him because of what he did to Tyson Fury, right? Couldn't. Tyson Fury might have overlooked him a little bit, and I think that's what happened. Like, he got caught with the right hand dropped. Anthony Joshua was like, I'm not taking any chances with this guy. So he fought him, and he took him serious. But Francis didn't move. Jake did a good job of moving around for a long time, but all that moving costs energy.
Right? I mean, I used to spar with the Robert Guerrero here in Gilwood.
Yep.
And I would go in and spar with him. I'd tell people that I would spar with him for his first 4 rounds. He would do 12 rounds.
Yep.
He would use me as his warm-up rounds.
Yep.
And I was in fight shape. I wouldn't go and spar unless I was ready to fight. Like, I was 2 or 3 weeks out from my...
Yeah.
I was ready to fight. And by the 4th round, I was fucking exhausted. And he would just make me miss. You know, if you miss more, it's the right work. It makes you more tired.
Especially when you're throwing big punches like Jake was throwing.
Yeah.
And then wrestling. He's like shooting double legs and shit. Like, all you look like Dylan Dan over seconds, bro. All that wrestling was crazy, dog. I was like, bro, have you ever in my life seen that much wrestling in a boxing match? It was Dylan, but it's Logan Paul all over again. Every time he would fall, you got to get up.
Yeah.
Every time you shoot, you got to get up. It makes you more tennis. It should be more iron off you. It's a worse shot.
Translates to one thing, manipulation, and Rogan immediately contrasted this with his own experiences around legitimate fighters, explaining that no real champion ever wants certainty in a fight, because certainty means weakness, it means you're not prepared for the unknown, and when he imagined Anthony Joshua standing across from Jake Paul under any kind of prearranged understanding, Rogan laughed in disbelief, saying Joshua would absolutely destroy anything that felt fake the moment real.
the fight, I'm going to break him down, and then I'm going to knock him out. And that's exactly what he did. I thought it'd be all over within 3 rounds. But, you know, when I got in the ring after, because I was shouting, just, you know, anywhere, armed. I got in, he went, what are you rushing me for? And I was like, oh, sorry. So, but like, obviously he knows what he's doing, and actually now quite pleased that we got the rounds, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw you said that. Really random, I was on Twitter and I saw Jake Paul's mum said she wants to get in the ring and punch you. She said she doesn't like the smug look on your face. She is promoting her book, so I'm not sure if she wants, you know. But did you see that? What did you think of that?
No, I was very sad because I couldn't have been nicer and more respectful of Jake and what he's done. And I think Logan's amazing. I think he's an incredible athlete. And I shook Jake Paul's dad's hand in the ring, you know. And if I would have seen Mum, I would have said, all right. But I think over the years, we've obviously had our beef, and she probably don't like me anyway. And I am probably a little bit smug. I wasn't smug after the fight because I would have been more smug if it was all over in a round. So, no, I give Jake respect. And, sorry, Jake's mum doesn't like me, but...
Punches started flying, which might explain, in Rogan's analysis, why the fight never materialized, because you cannot script violence when a heavyweight who can end lives with one punch decides to let instinct take over, and the conversation quickly turned brutal for Jake Paul's image, as Rogan questioned how many previous fights may have involved similar conversations, carefully clarifying that he wasn't accusing outcomes, but pointing out that the mere attempt to control narratives crosses a...
You know, like when you got a fly on the windscreen and you're trying to swat it, and you're trying to swat it and you miss and you keep tapping, and then eventually, bang, you get it. That's exactly what that fight was. Jake Paul didn't get in there to win last night. He got in there to survive. And he didn't do a better job of surviving. He sold the fight brilliantly. That's what he is. He's a salesman. And he's a YouTuber, influencer, call him whatever you want. So from that perspective, he did his job, but he never got in there to win. He just got in there to get beat up. I'm glad Anthony Joshua done a number on him. This is why boxers are boxers, YouTubers, whatever they want to call themselves, influencers. You know, they should stay in their lane and fight people that they're supposed to fight on their level. This guy was never on Anthony Joshua's level, and Joshua did what he needed to do, did what he had to do for the sake of boxing, and blow this guy out and just knock him out.
What about the fact that Jake was able to land on him clean a couple of times? What did you make of that?
Oh, listen, you can't get into the water without getting hit. Fortunately for Joshua, that guy can't break an egg. So he was never in any danger. You know, he's always going to get hit back. I mean, you know, it was 6 rounds. Anthony Joshua was always going to take at least 1 or 2 shots over that 6-round period, but it was nothing to hurt him. It was nothing to bother him. And like I say, this is all about getting AJ's confidence back. Okay. If Jake Paul fights, if he fights KSI or KFC or whatever his name is, then those two are evenly matched, aren't they? They're evenly matched, and then they could fight, you know, and then because they're evenly matched. They're both YouTubers, aren't they?
Line, especially when the marketing constantly pushes the idea that Jake is fighting real boxers, and Rogan reminded listeners that real boxing is chaos, it's exhaustion, it's fear, it's injury, it's things going wrong in front of millions of people, and you can't brand that safely, which is why true champions respect the danger rather than trying to manage it. And Joshua's exposure resonated because it aligned perfectly with what so many retired fighters, trainers, and insiders have quietly
win. Every once in a while in between running, he would throw a wish, hope it would land and do some damage. He was just hoping that Santa would come early and give him a present, a gift from the god. There's a reason in the jungle that a gazelle sometimes outruns a cheetah, the fastest animal, because fear makes you survive. But unfortunately this baby gazelle ran out of steam. For AJ, it was like a light sparring session. You could see he didn't fear anything coming back. After the fight, he looked like he'd been for a light jog. AJ knew the constant pressure was breaking him down, because trust me, when you've got a guy who can punch stalking you, it's tiring, because you can't switch off. One mistake and you could end up asleep. AJ's a massive puncher. Even the punches that weren't landing clean were doing damage. Any heavyweight landing in 10-ounce gloves isn't fun. Again, credit to Jake, he got dropped, but he kept getting back up. That big head is durable. Did Jake do what he said he was going to do? No. He's a businessman. He sells the dream. At no stage did he really try to win. It was a bank robbery in broad daylight. On paper, he shouldn't have been there. He got in and kinda gave it a go. He risked his life for the fans' entertainment. Was it brave or stupidity? Well, regardless, I still think he's been great for boxing, bringing new eyes to the sport. Just look what he's done for female boxing. The undercard was female heavy, giving them opportunity, giving them a platform. Personally, I think it's great. For Jake Paul, the fight was a win-win. Once he's healed up, he can come again. But next time, fight someone at your level, light heavyweight or cruiserweight. And he did show heart, and I did see some improvement, despite the fact he was mainly running. He did show good movement and decent defense. People saying it's embarrassing for AJ. No, it's not. He just got his best and easiest payday. He can laugh his way to the bank. Nobody can honestly say if they were AJ, given the opportunity, they wouldn't take it.
Said off mic for years, that influencer boxing exists in a gray area where entertainment and sport blur uncomfortably, and Rogan's shock turned into frustration as he explained how dangerous this normalization could be, especially for younger fighters who might think this is how combat sports work, that you negotiate outcomes instead of earning them, and he warned that once fans start believing fights are scripted, the entire industry collapses. Because boxing already struggles with trust, and moments like this pour gasoline on that fire, and as
feeds into the story of him being perhaps a little bit better than we sometimes think, although I don't really co-sign on that. Let me make the point. The first point is, I think people are overreacting a little bit. People were suggesting when I got on social media that this was like the biggest farce they'd ever seen in their life, and that this was, how could he fight like this, and this was a disaster, and Joshua should have got him out there earlier. There is probably some evidence to suggest that I don't think Joshua was carrying him in the sense of, hey, they coordinated this ahead of time. But was Joshua really stepping on the gas? No, I don't think he was really stepping on the gas. There were times I think he clearly pulled his punches, partly because Jake was squirmy and rotating on the outside. Also in part because I think, as I indicated on Friday, he's watching this guy with pretty bad footwork. He was literally
Clips spread across social media. You could see the tide turning, fans dissecting every Jake Paul fight with renewed skepticism, replaying moments, questioning pacing, questioning opponents, questioning reactions, while Joshua remained calm and composed, refusing to escalate, simply stating that he wants real fights with real stakes, not manufactured spectacles, and that restraint only made his words hit harder. Because he wasn't clout chasing, he was distancing himself, and Rogan praised that. Saying it takes discipline to walk away from massive money when your integrity feels compromised, especially in an era where everything is monetized, and the psychological impact on Jake Paul was immediate, as critics argued that even the perception of scripting is devastating, because boxing fans are ruthless. Once they smell artificiality, they never let it go, and Rogan predicted that this moment could mark a turning point, where the novelty of influencer boxing finally collides head-on with the uncompromising reality of elite fighters who refuse to play along, and he speculated that Joshua's exposure may empower others to speak, fighters who stayed silent because of contracts or money, but now feel validated. And the most chilling part of Rogan's reaction came when he said, almost quietly, that if Joshua had accepted and ignored those red flags, someone could have gotten seriously hurt. Because once you assume control in a violent environment, you make mistakes, you take risks you shouldn't, and heavyweights don't forgive those mistakes, and that's when the conversation shifted from drama to danger, with Rogan emphasizing that scripted thinking in a real fight is how careers end, and the irony, he noted, is that Jake Paul constantly claims he wants respect from boxing purists, yet moments like this push him further away from it, because respect in boxing is earned through uncertainty, through stepping into the unknown without guarantees, and Joshua's words stripped away the influencer aura and exposed the fundamental clash between sport and spectacle, and as the episode ended, Rogan admitted he was genuinely shocked, not entertained shocked, but concerned shocked, because this wasn't just another viral headline, it was a warning sign, and in the days that followed, the narrative only grew, analysts, former champions, trainers, all weighing in, many siding with Joshua, saying they've heard similar things before but never from someone so high profile, and while Jake Paul's camp denied everything. The damage was already done, because once the idea of scripting enters the conversation, it never leaves, and Joe Rogan's stunned reaction became the visual symbol of that realization. A man who has seen every version of combat sports, realizing in real time that the line between entertainment and legitimacy had been pushed too far. And whether Jake Paul can recover from that remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: Anthony Joshua didn't just decline a fight, he detonated a narrative, and Joe Rogan's shock reflected exactly what millions of fans felt in that moment: the uncomfortable understanding that not everything labeled a fight is built on truth, and that when real fighters speak, the illusion doesn't stand a chance.